Hey Sagittarius. All information to work with me one-on-one is below, as well as the extended versions of these readings, which is in the first link below. And that will be out in the next 24 to 48 hours. And that's where we get even more in depth into the cards. Okay? Let's start your January Capricorn season reading. First card out is the Queen of Wands. Focus, control, a plan, a desire, an instinct. There's something that might be not as big, staring you right in the face, but you're looking elsewhere. Why are you looking elsewhere? Well, we have the Queen of Wands looking over to the Hierophant now. It appears that you might be in the midst of looking for some kind of spiritual advice. Or you might not be consciously thinking that, but all of your actions, all of your, I want to say qualms, all of your frustrations, everything that's happening right now, even though it's in a physical form, there's this emphasis on spiritual advice. You may want to disregard it at first, especially depending on how it's spoken to you, but you're not the only one who can be straightforward and concise, right? You might have people around you who are giving you that kind of energy right now. Not everyone in Capricorn season thinks they know what's best for the next. I am not excluded from this area sometimes, but let's just leave it to the Capricorns, and whatever energy they're bringing into your life and whatever is happening in your life is what possibly is their energy trying to tell you what's best for you. There might be ego involved with this situation, and there's some harsh communication happening. It's possible that there's a few people involved and there's someone specific, there's a part of you that may want to be really direct or harsh or brash. But what's happening is that this is probably like this final moment before this frustration that you've had, before it all dissipates. You know what I mean? You know, dissipate. Yeah. So before a cycle comes to a close, usually you have to go through like this moment. Sometimes it feels like a trial. Like that your soul is on trial, and like this here looks like something that is a situation that is coming towards you at this time, all has to do with your, whether or not, how do I want to put this? It'll show you where you're at. It'll show you where it is that you're at this moment, because it's really important that there's something that you speak up about. There's something that really needs to be said, and you might even be approaching someone who's really nonsensical. So you might be approaching someone who is, so if someone has like something going on and you're approaching them in a way that they're not used to, or so you have this person, they may not be used to the way that you're changing, right? So they have something to say, or they don't really love that about you, that you're changing, right? Well, that's not for them to decide, right? Their reaction or response to you doesn't have anything to do with you. In terms of, it is not your fault. You know, some people have a harder time with change, and I think that you can also attest to that in some ways too. But also just looks like there's a battle of the egos at this time, that you may think you're right, and the other side is in defense mode. But truth be told, the power lies in the person willing to let go. As you move forward, you may realize that maybe some of your you're just putting yourself into too much, right? You may need to back off. You may need to let go of something, right? This change, now this card's coming out, the next part will definitely talk about Jupiter and Taurus. This change that's happening, this cycle that, you know, for every sign is really being asked to shift and change. It's interesting because when you're seeking, a lot of times when you're seeking something, and especially specific advice from a specific person, right? Sometimes things don't hit directly until you meet the person that really can affect you. What does that depend on? Well, I think it's all energy. So if you can think back to anyone in your life growing up where you could really count on them, they just were that person who knew you well, and they gave you sound and solid advice when you needed it, right? That person who made everything feel okay. Why do I bring that up? Because that's what this Hierophant figure is, and that could be what you are learning to navigate internally. For a lot of you, you also might be seeing that and finding that the actions that you take are way more important than the words you speak. You know, because we have the Queen of Wands, she is looking to, the Queen of Wands, I just said the Queen of Wands. She's looking over to the left. The Hierophant and the Emperor are both looking forward, and the Knight of Swords is looking to the right. There's, for some reason, this underlying theme of needing to be a witness to your life this month, to address things in a way that is without pride, but for factual information, right? But there's still this overarching sense of ancestry, how things used to go, tradition, and that's all coming up not against you, but for you right now. And no matter how this cycle closes out, it doesn't matter. It's bringing you towards where you need to go. So anything that you're feeling, oh, the nines, finishing cycles, look at that. That you're feeling attached to, overly protective of at this time is the emotional work. Because why would the Nine of Cups come out and then the Eight of Cups? So It seems great, it appears great, right? But you're still walking away from it all. The truth is that the death has to do with another, area of your self-worth. You think that the Hierophant and the Emperor or the Queen of Wands wonder about their worth? Probably never. They're also just cards. But these figures stand and sit on their thrones, worthy of their placement. Sorry, I'm so fidgety with the cards today. When I lay them out, a lot of times I have to move them now depending on like what's being said. Hold on. My nose is itchy. Little did you know this month, perhaps, that you've just been walking towards your deathbed. Most people go through these transformations, or have been, but you find yourself finishing up something you didn't even know maybe you started. And interestingly enough, when everything is closed up, it's almost like something else is trying to bring you back in, or someone else is trying to bring you into their problems, and you almost feel like you can help, but then you realize that it's probably not for the best. The best thing to do for you right now, because we have two fixed energies. The world has all the fixed signs around it, and so does the Wheel of Fortune, right? On either side of the Five of Wands. It's the reason why this spiritual connection is so important to whatever physically you're changing in your life, is because it's going to be the support that you need to walk away, to move through this transformation and into a more worthy version of yourself, a more determined version of yourself. This is very Capricorn season, rising to the occasion. There looks like there's a few occasions that you may need to rise to. Because in order to have even these conversations, or to communicate that you want more, that you deserve better, you have to also communicate to yourself on a neurological level, on a cellular level. And Pluto's been very apparent in the readings because it's finally moving into Aquarius. And you may notice a shift when that happens. And that happens the same day that the sun moves into Aquarius, I believe, which is on the 20th, or around that time. It might be by that time that you finally just naturally, intuitively feel that it's time to let go, that it's time to move on from this narrative that's been going on inside of you. There are people you will need to address, of course, but a lot of this is very internal this month. You might appear loud or big in the beginning of the month, but towards the end of the month, there's something that not makes you smaller, but quiets you down because you're listening. You may be listening deeper into your own needs and desires. You're still important if there's no drama going on. What you bring to the table is still important, even if there's no one to be helped, right? You don't need to be stretching yourself out at this point. And if you still are, that's where the drastic shift comes in. It's like you just don't, whatever you doing that, whatever void that was filling, or whatever space in your worth it was filling, now that you're opening up and letting that go and it's like coming out of you, you're wanting to fill it with more value. And then you may be reminded, oh, this is the value. This is that remembrance and reminder that I've needed in the beginning of the month. That when it gets to the part where it doesn't feel so good through the transformation, it's there on the other side of that you're wanting to get to, and to remind yourself that you have the strength when you started, the focus, and now it's in that faith that what you're doing is the right thing for yourself. That this change may bring you somewhere physically new, but that's not for all of you. That's for just a few. Most of you, again, this is very much an internal space. You feel like you need to protect yourself at this point. And if there are talks of marriage, don't rush into anything, especially if the other person wants to go in, make it official, feels demanding or powerful over you, or you want marriage and they don't feel strongly. Whichever way it goes, in the midst of that, even though we've seen in movies that it looks romantic and to be having these kinds of conversations and through a fight it brings to the resolution, at this time it's probably not the best to make those kinds of decisions. I would wait a little bit longer. That's just the advice here. Wait until Mars moves through Capricorn and then enters Aquarius, and then you'll see. Yeah, I'm really excited to learn more about this world and Wheel of Fortune situation, what's really opening up for you and expanding for you, and you feel it, so you need to move forward. It's a really powerful next step, Sagittarius, and I'm excited to get into the second part, which we'll do now. All links below. We'll see you there.